Hi, thanks for joining me for yoga. Today's practice is going to be about the shoulders, and we're going to look at arm movement and the root of arm movement, which is the shoulder blade, and how that relates back into the body as a whole. So it would be helpful if you have a block, you could use that. Maybe a box of tissues could work. A belt will be handy, and if you don't have a belt, you can use a towel, like a dish towel, will work great. And then for demonstration purposes, I have this beautiful rose quartz, but you could, you'll see what this is going to be about, but this is just about something to hold, and you may or may not need that, but it might help you to see what I'm doing with my movement. Okay, so we're going to start out with the root of the shoulder, with our shoulder blades. So we're just going to get some nice fluid movement. We know that the shoulder blades do 4 basic movements. They move up, they move down, they move together, and they move apart. Up, down, together, apart. So we're going to take advantage of that and combine those movements together, making these lovely circles that really hydrate all the tissues of the upper back and even your chest. And I'm taking my circles in the other direction. Notice your breathing. It's very important to let go of any holding and let the breath just flow freely. The movement will affect your breathing, and the breathing will bring more hydration to all the tissues that are actually moving. Good. So we're going to try another version of circles. I'm going to put my fingertips on my shoulders, and we could do one at a time. This is actually good if you're not so sure about any restriction in your arms or discomfort. So let's just try one arm at a time. I'm going to take my elbow in a big circle. So just exploring how big I could draw a circle with my elbow, and notice that I'm letting my torso move. So as I go back, I'm rotating a little bit through the rib cage. And then let's reverse. Again, watch the breath. Let your breath flow freely. And then we'll release and we'll do the other side. So big circle, as big as you can make it. Move slowly, because moving slowly allows us to feel more. And when we can feel things, we know if we're about to hurt ourselves. And then we can stop before we hurt ourselves. So nice big circle in the other direction, letting your rib cage flow with this movement. Good. And then we release. We can try both arms. And you're going to notice when you do both arms that your rib cage can't help you now. So it's going to change the movement. So I'm making these circles, and I'm breathing. Other direction. And you can pause the video and spend a little more time with this if you want to. And exhaling, and just let the arms drop down. And notice how that feels. And I didn't mention that I'm standing in somewhat of a Tadasana position. My feet are a little wider than hip width for this, but my feet are also fairly neutral as opposed to toes turned out or toes turned in. So just a nice, stable, and neutral stance. Okay, so let's look at linear planes of movement. And that's where your belt, or if you're using a dish towel, take like the two opposite corners of the dish towel so you have a nice wide stretch, or maybe you can grab like a regular belt or a belt off of your bathrobe or something could work well if you don't have a yoga belt. So we're just going to look at basic linear movements. So I'm stretching the belt apart, nice and taut, breathing in, and I'm bringing it up. And exhale and take it down. As I do this, I'm checking in with my Tadasana posture, that I'm not distorting my Tadasana. In other words, I'm not letting my hips or my ribs kind of help out if I'm noticing I have restriction in my shoulder. So let's say I have some restriction in my movement and I notice that to do that, I want to bend forward. Well, I maintain my Tadasana and don't go as far with the arms. Or take wider and see how that affects things. Good. Now we're going to take it back, and I'll turn this way so you can see me. Nice stable Tadasana, well aligned. Breathe in, exhale, take the arms back. And bring them down. And this applies here too. Hands closer together make this more difficult. Hands wider apart gives you more range of movement. Listen to your shoulders and find the distance that works well for you. One of the things I'm trying to be conscious of is not bending my elbows. So taking the hands close and having the elbows like this is not going to work real well. Let the arms be straight. Exhale, extend the arms back, maintain Tadasana, and come back down. Great. So now I'm going to take this, what we might call the lateral or the frontal or coronal movement, out to the sides and up. Pay attention to if the elbows or the wrists want to bend. So if you get so high and then this starts to happen, right? So just expand out this way so that your elbows and your wrists can be straight and you can explore that range of movement with your breath. Nice in breath, breathing out, let the arms float down. Okay, let's come up so that our arms are parallel to the floor. Right arm on top, hug yourself. Inhale, open up. Exhale, right arm on top again, hug yourself. And this time we're going to bring our forearms up. Right? So I just, from the hug, I just brought the forearms up and the palms are facing outward. Some of you might find that you can take that bottom hand around. But again, be careful if you are distorting your joints, your alignment to get that. That's not useful. So keep the hands, the wrists neutral in the joint and just explore that movement in the arms. So we're going to switch to the other side. Left arm on top. You got a hug today, that's good. Breathing in, open up. Breathing out, hug yourself. Breathing in, open up. Breathing out, hug yourself. And then bring the forearms up. And if that bottom hand can just come in and around, fingertips moving into the palm of the top hand, you can do that. That's Garudasana arms. And then inhale and open up and release the arms down. Okay, so we're going to do this little movement exploration that I got from my teacher. I think it may be from the martial arts movement, just from what I've heard from other people. And many of you who take class with me have said, oh, could you make a video of this? Well, here we are. So I'm going to do it. So I'm holding a block in my hand. I'm going to take a nice wide stance with my feet. I'm going to let my knees be free to move. And I'm going to take this block, obviously palm is up, and it's like I'm offering it out to somebody in front of me, and then slowly moving it, notice how my whole body is moving, and reaching back behind me. So taking it back there, and then taking it forward. And then taking it back. Notice this movement in the arm here, and then taking it forward. The block is helpful because it reminds you that you want your palm to stay up, right? And if you just move that wrist a little bit, you would drop it. So it's helping us to get this nice range of motion through the wrist, the elbow, the shoulder, and our whole torso is coming into play. All right, so now I'm going to see, can I take this around? How far? And then back, through, and how far can I take it this way? So it's like I'm tracing a circle around my right side. It's probably more like an ellipse if I wanted to be really accurate. This big, like I have this big track, elliptical track around me, and I'm tracing that with my hand. You may not be getting this much movement, and if you have something in your hand, you may be finding that it's falling, so don't hold something big and heavy. And that is why I have this little stone, because I can hold that in my hand, but it still reminds me that I want to keep this upright. Good. And then we're going to, I'm just going to go back to the block because I think it might be easier for you to see. We're going to notice that we also have a big ellipse on the upstairs floor, right? So this is the downstairs ellipse. And then we go upstairs, big circle. How far back can I take it? And then forward. And then back. And then forward. And then let's see what happens if I wanted to bring it overhead. And remember, I was saying we're letting our torso move, our knees move, our hips are moving. Good. And we can take this back down to the first floor. And we can let the first floor take the elevator up to the second floor. First floor. Take the elevator up to the second floor and around. And you can reverse it. Come back to the back, bend your elbow and come over your head. Deliver this block forward and come down, take the elevator down and around to the front. So put your object down if you were using one. Let your arms hang and notice the difference between the two halves of the body, not just the shoulder, but the whole experience of the body. So I'm going to do this on the other side. You can, of course, pause the video, play with that as much as you want, and then we'll do the other side. So remember, a little bit wider stance, free knees, free hips. Extend your block or whatever you're choosing to hold on to out front, and then take it back, and then take it forward, and back. So just getting that first part gives you some nice movement. And then once we have it back there, let's kind of explore how far around could we bring that. All right, and even if you do this without something in your hand, so that, you know, your hand can, if you had a block in it, it would drop it. that's okay. You're exploring, you've got the idea that you're trying to keep that hand up, palm up, and explore all the movement integrated in the wrist, elbow, shoulder, rib cage, torso, hips, knees, ankles. Okay, then I'm going to come around this way. So look how much I'm rotating to take that arm back. And around and back. Come around to the front. Now let's go up to the second floor. Trace the outer part of your circle or your ellipse up here. And then we can see if I bend the elbow, bringing it back around and through. That's probably one of the most challenging moves that we'll find. And coming down, this is pretty tricky right here. And upstairs. And back. Okay, so I'll do that slow. There we go. I think what I'm going to do is just turn around and face the other way. I'm not going to talk because I don't know if the mic picks me up when I'm facing that way. But just so that you can be following me without me mirroring you, okay? So I'm just going to do a couple times through on each arm. How was that? I hope that was fun. Now, we're going to go back to our linear movements. See how they feel now. All right? So, find my belt or your dishcloth, your little hand towel. Stretch it apart nice and tight. Find your Tadasana legs. Breathe in and take the arms up. Exhaling them down. Breathing in. Exhaling them down. Let's take the belt behind us. Stretch it nice and tight. Adjust the width that you need. Take a full in-breath. Exhale the arms back. Breathe in, let them drop down. exhale down. Inhaling up. And exhaling down. Out to the sides, right arm on top. And bring the forearms up. Inhale, open up. Exhale, hug yourself. Bring the forearms up. And it might be here. Hug yourself, open up. And exhale the arms back down. So, every good practice ends with a Shavasana. So we don't want to cheat ourselves on Shavasana. So I'm going to take a folded blanket. Or pillow of some sort, whatever you have at home that makes your head feel comfortable. And something to put under your knees. So maybe you like a rolled blanket, maybe you have a bolster, maybe you have some pillows. And we're going to lie down. Adjust your support for your head. Make sure whatever's under your knees is under your knees and not too far up under your thighs. Take your glasses off. Take your watch off. And once I'm lying down, I want my shoulder blades flat on the floor, right? So they're not squished in together, but they're also not pointing into the floor, nice and flat. And then I'm going to bring one leg up, cross it over, and then reach it back over the bolster. And this is to release the buttocks away from the lower back. So your sacrum, your hips rest very neutral on the floor. Exhale as deeply as you can. Just completely be sure that you're letting go of that out breath. Let the breath flow through you freely. Allow the weight of the body to dissolve down into the floor. And as you rest here, let your body grow heavier, surrendering to the bolster and the blanket and the floor and essentially to the earth. Giving ourselves 10 to 15 and ideally 20 minutes to relax deeply is one of the best things you can do for your health and well-being.